Welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're taking a look at Red Alert, Space Fleet Warfare. This is designed by Richard Borg, and it's from PSC Games. It's a Kickstarter that was fulfilled fairly recently. People are getting their hands on it now. So we have, this is the base game, and this box is huge. And we have the four kind of unit expansions. And then we have a couple here, it's kind of hard to see, a couple of kind of terrain expansion type things, little mini expansions. We're going to take a look at everything and try and cram it all in. There is a lot to unpack here. It is Richard Borg, so as you can imagine, this is its own system, but it's based on the commands and colors system, which you've seen in a lot of other war games. What we'll do, we'll start with the base game here, and this box is very, very heavy. There is a lot of plastic in here. PSC Games are known for, well, it started with the Plastic Soldier Company. They literally made 172 and 1/100 scale miniatures for tabletop wargaming. They're branching out into board games. This is an offering that they've just come out with. This box is really thick and it's huge. You can see here's the kind of map you'd expect, divided into three. You use the same kind of command cards. Here's all these plastic units though. 14 plus. This is, I've looked through the rules. It has a few more nuances and tactical choices than some of the other Commands and Colors games. So I think that 14 plus it does require a bit more extra layer of thought. 60 to 90 minutes. Interested to see how that plays out. Sometimes these games play very quickly. Sometimes you do play for that full 90, but what we'll do is we'll open it up. This is really heavy. And take a little look inside. P.S. I'm a sucker for a sci-fi game, and I am a sucker for sci-fi artwork. And this game is beautiful when it comes to that. So I really, really appreciate that. So we have the rules of play. This is a kind of a full semi-gloss. It's 43 pages, but this is also the scenario book, so there's all these scenarios in here, and a little bit of kind of the sci-fi history that the story is based on. So really it's 30 pages of rules, but the first 6 to 8 pages are just component explanations. This is the object of the game, so really you're looking at, it's actually 20 pages of rules. But half of it's beautiful illustrations, very clear spaced out text. 20 pages of rules should not scare you when it comes to this. Especially if you've played any of the Commands and Colors games, you'll be very familiar with the system. You'll be reading this, picking up on nuances more than learning anything particularly new and crunchy. The Red Alert, which is the name of the game, is different from just rolling flags as you would in other games. There's a chance to mitigate those depending on how and when those are rolled, so that's very interesting. There's star tokens, which is an extra little currency that you can use to trigger an extra set of combat cards and special abilities. So there is more stuff built into this than some of the other titles, which I'm excited to kind of take a look at. What we'll do is we'll crack on here. So these are a couple of little holding mats for victory point tokens and other bits and pieces. So there's 2 factions here, and I know I'm going to get it wrong. Let me just check so I don't. Okay. You have this kind of like reddish pink is the Commonwealth. And then the green is the Confederation. So that's the 2 kind of factions here. And there's a couple of play aid charts. These are double-sided. And this tells you... Okay, that's really nice actually. I'm glad they did that. Alright, so this is kind of for the base game, and this is for all of the expansions. You might only buy one of the expansions, so you would have, say, the carriers and the carrier fighters. But all of the information for the expansions is included in a nice play aid, so you don't have a billion extra play aids. That's really nice and good foresight. As a play aid in this game, it tells you what you're hit by on the custom dice. It tells you your sublight movement, tells you your battle dice and ranges, and it tells you how many figures you have, how many points it costs to purchase you if you're doing that part of it, and you know, extra special rules, what you can do with red alerts, if you can negate those, things like that, and then some shields and maneuvers, different things that you can do. And then it has a victory point cost. And here's one of my favorite things about looking through this game. In something like Commands and Colors Napoleonics, you eliminate a unit, you get a victory flag. In this, if you eliminate a capital ship, you get 8 victory points. And you need, usually, you know, you might say you need 21 to win. Well, that's over 30 victory points just from killing one ship. Very hard to do, but doable. If you pick off a couple fighter units, not worth much. So this really is a combined fleet game, and picking your targets and trying to focus fire ships for victory points, very, very important. So I very much enjoyed that aspect of it, and brings an extra layer of tactics to this style of a game. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punch boards of cardboard. A lot of these are really huge tiles. And these kind of got an asteroid field, and then on this side it has a bunch of stuff. And these are important because at some point, tiles are tiles, right? But some of these tiles all go together and form like star systems, which are big, which is really cool how those actually fit together. And then you have, these are unit tokens. If you have a heavy cruiser unit, you'll literally have 4 plastic miniatures. Then you also have this. And this is kind of the little reference as to its abilities on the board, so you don't have to keep trying to remember what things is. If you have, 4 cruisers and you lose 2 of them, there's no difference between that and a light cruiser unit where you've lost 1. They both have 2, they both look identical. These heavy cruisers, and let's see, I should call them light cruisers, but just called normal cruiser. This is what differentiates their firepower once you start to not be able to tell. These star tokens, this is something extra in this game. This is a currency that you can attain throughout the game and spend them to activate special abilities. Some debris tokens. If your flagship gets destroyed, you literally put out one of these. And it's more of the same, so you've got these markers for capturing planets or for setup, things like that. More planet tokens, more debris, red alert markers. See, you got a red alert marker, here's a bunch of those. So this is what I'm talking about with these kind of tiles that go together in a system. It's not just, oh, here's some forest, or here's some asteroids. I'm going to butcher this, but the tiles go together to form like a huge piece of terrain, which I think that's really cool. That just looks awesome on the table. Again, sucker for a sci-fi game. So now we come to the fun stuff. We'll start over here with the custom dice. The custom dice are awesome because they are embossed dice. In my Commands and Colors exploits, it's been stickered dice. These are not that, which is very, very nice. I like to have tactile dice. We have here a huge number of unit bases and pegs. So if you've ever played anything like Star Wars X-Wing or Armada or Battlefleet Gothic, you will literally have these bases that the units go on. And you like stick pegs on them, and then the units go on top so they're flying. In theory, you don't have to play with those if you don't want to. You could just put the units out on the board. That's entirely up to you. If you break in what's too fiddly for you, you can just put the units out. So let's take a look at the units. This is the fun stuff. This is why we like these games. There is a ton. And these are all pre-packaged and bagged according to what they are, which is very nice. And I want to say, I think these are the flagships. I think these are dreadnoughts. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay. I don't know the names of them. So these are really chunky Not gonna break plastic. These are pretty decent quality. You might want to scrub them with a toothbrush and some soap if you wanted to spray and paint these. I would advise that if you do any kind of miniature painting, but that's especially true for this kind of plastic for me. You can see there's little holes your pegs go into, you stick them on the base and they stand up. These are your flagships. Oh my God, these are huge, right? We have, just for some scale, oops. These are the length of kind of 5 dice. That's also not a very helpful reference. And the flagships, ironically, aren't even the biggest ones. If we take a look at these dreadnoughts, I think they're called dreadnoughts. I'm calling them that. The dreadnoughts are actually kind of bigger and fatter looking. And there's just a ton of these. And then we have, I think these are the ones that, these are cruisers. You just get so many of these. Like, this is just fun to play around with. These cruisers are just, they're so cool looking. Put those in there. And then let's look at these Commonwealth destroyers. And these are distinctive. The factions look different, they feel different. Functionally, they're probably the same. They might have slight differences, but they look different on the board, and that's something important. It wasn't just generic units that they used, like they did in like the first edition of Eclipse. There's just a ton of these huge Commonwealth dreadnoughts, and they just look so good. Right, look at these just engine blocks on the back. There's going to be lots of engine noises and pew-pewing of lasers when we play this game. I can tell you that. Then there are these bags of really, really small fighters. If I'm going to put anything on standees, it's going to be these, just so I don't lose them. These are very small. If we compare that to a dice, these are kind of very tiny little things. You just put one on a base, and you have a bunch in a little sector. So these ones I'm going to be a bit more careful with, because I don't want to lose those. And there's a bunch of those for the Commonwealth here as well. So cool looking. These ones have little wings on them. Dropping them. Just really, really cool looking ships. The last couple of things in here is the board. I know, this is a little bit unorthodox. And the cards. You can see this box has a really deep, rigid cardboard insert, which would be nice if you put all those things on standees. You can divvy them up and store them half decently. And we'll get there in a second. Let's see, opening these cards. We have here task force cards, command cards, task force, command, and these are combat cards. Okay, great. So there's 3 different card types. Task force cards. Basically, you're going to shuffle these up. You draw 1, and this is your units you have to choose from, plus X amount of points to buy from based on the scenario. So you're going to use these, plus, say, 21 points from the book, or 40 points from the book. And so you kind of shuffle these up and draw 1. This is what you're stuck with, plus whatever you want to modify this with. So there is an element of customization, but you ain't going to spend 2 hours army building, which I think is a very good thing and keeps the game at a good clip. These combat cards, these are extra. You'll have the option to draw these, and you're going to spend those star tokens to activate a lot of these. It tells you, up to 3 units fighter class are ordered. Then you may move, may then combat, and may then move again. It just, these are rule-breaking cards that allow you to do other things. Oh, I've got that the wrong way around. The combat cards do that. Sorry, I'm being a moron. So here it tells you, pay 1 star to activate this ability. Play when your ordered unit is rolling. Its combat dice against a flagship. Roll an additional die. This one, let's see, let's find a fire torpedoes. Costs 2 to do. When you are in ranged combat, except for long-range fighter unit will roll 2 additional dice. So things can get pretty powerful there. I wonder if there's... And it'll be interesting to see how these... Yeah, cap fighter second wave. Play alongside your command card. Return up to 3 cap fighters to one or more of your units that has lost one of its cap fighters. This could be very powerful. And we'll go through that here later. Basically, your cap ships, or your capital ships, or which were those unique ones, your capital ships, they have fighter escorts, which act as hit points. So once you lose those, then you might be able to kill the capital ship. That card replenishes those. So you basically double your hit points doing that. Very, very powerful. What we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the... Oh, let's take a look at the map, actually. So this is a material. Never played with a map before like this. Normally the commands and colors maps are just kind of a cardboard. This is a sheet, and it's single-sided. And it's because it's much bigger. The hexes are much bigger. Ooh, this is going to be tough. So you can see very bold starfield and the dotted line. It's going to show that here. That line's pretty there. It's very, very clear what this is. Let's see. I am very close to not having a table big enough for this. Let's check the back of the box here real quick. Does it say? No. I'm not sure the particular dimensions of that, but that might be just bigger than 3x3, because I'm pretty sure a 3x3 fits on my table. It just says a starfield. Doesn't say how big it is. Well, this is not a tiny game, but half of the edges that are hanging off are these half hexes, which you're not going to be using anyway, so a little bit of wiggle room, and it folds up, right? So you can manipulate this how you want. Not that big of a deal. Okay. Here's the other thing we're going to take a look at. Those are the rest of the command cards. Let's whip these open. He says, there we go. So we have command, task force, command, task force, combat, command. So yeah, these are not organized. So there's a little bit of admin to do here at the beginning. Okay, command cards. These are very much what you would expect. Order 1 in each of the sectors. Order 2 and 1. Order 2 on the right. 3 in the middle. 4 on the right. Do a battle line. Issue 1 order to each unit in a line. The line may extend across 1 or more sectors. Ordered units must be in adjacent linked contiguous hexes. Ordered units move at sublight speed of 1 hex. You move your whole battle line up 1 space. That's pretty cool. So a lot of these command cards, what you would expect, but with some nice new fresh ones in there as well. More of these task force cards. So you have a lot of different setups that you're going to be able to play through. Let's see, 1, 2, 12. There's 12 different task force cards. So you're going to draw one of these. Boom. I got 99 points on this card. So I'm going to get whatever the scenario gives me, plus 1. Because these task force cards are typically around 100-ish. Okay, so whatever's not 100, they give you the plus 3 points to whatever the scenario gives you. So you build on top of what the card is that you draw. So I really, really like that. That's everything that's in the base game. That was actually quite a lot. I'm going to have real fun folding this back up so it's not super creased. I guess that's just part of the game. Interesting. I'll figure out a system for this bad boy. Let's take a look at the expansions though. That was awful. I apologize for that. My wife would be ashamed. So we have a couple of small expansions here. This is the Space Rift Escalation Pack. And I like that they don't call them expansions. They call them escalation packs. So this is a kind of a folio polybag piece here. And it's nothing crazy. You get a couple dice, a couple punch boards, and some rules. So this one comes with 3 dice. And those are normal D6s. And you get little 5 pages of rules. Oh, 6, 7, 8 pages of rules. So you get 1, 2, 3 scenarios. Looks like there's 3 scenarios there. Plus the rules of what the space rift does. So the space rift is literally a rift in space. And this punch board has, it's 2 punch boards. And again, these are massive tiles. Just big numbers on them and beautiful looking colors. That's a really vibrant color, which I enjoy. And asteroids on the back, as you may well expect. So basically you have a rift in space appearing. You roll your 3 dice. And if you roll any doubles, so if you roll a 5 and a 5, the rift will move this way. And if you roll triple 5s, it moves 2 spaces that way. And as it moves, it literally tears space apart, making huge, kind of just altering the board in real time. So that you're fighting the board as much as you are the other player, which very, very cool. And then rules about folds in space, what happens if your units are in there when space tears into, I don't know, just that's the fun stuff that you can put in a sci-fi game, which I always like that kind of stuff. This is the Meteor Storm Escalation Pack, a similar concept. Open this bad boy up. This has 2 dice. And the reality is that was a piece of paper, 6 tiles. Should be able to fit that in the base game, no big deal. Ooh. This one, they're already half fallen out. So this has got 12 tiles. But look how easy they punch. These are beautiful, really, really thick cardboard. I mean, this is huge, chunky stuff. So here we've got meteors, meteor showers, and then meteor storms. And there's 2 dice. And then there's the rules that indicate kind of what happens with those. And again, there's scenario 19 and 20, so there's another 2 scenarios in here, specifically with the meteor showers. But there's also rules that you can just stick these in any of the other scenarios, basically, if you agree to it. The meteors kind of grow from things like showers to storms, and the meteors move around and they damage things. So it's just extra special rules for a more dynamic battlefield if you're sick of just fighting through some asteroids and planets. So just more, again, more fun stuff that a sci-fi game can enable. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at the unit carriers, the unit escalation packs. So we have a whole bunch of them here. We have the Dreadnought Starship Escalation Pack, the Vice Admiral Flagship Escalation Pack, the Carrier Starship Escalation Pack, and this is the Logistics and Space Platform Escalation Pack. These all do different types of things, but remember, we looked at those play aids earlier on. If you were to buy just this one, well, the Dreadnought, oh, this is the Dreadnought. The other ones are battleships. I knew I had the name wrong. The Dreadnought information is already in the original base game play aid card, so I don't have a bunch of extra stuff I have to have on the table, which normally games invariably suffer from. This game was made with foresight with these. That's the benefit of Kickstarter, I guess. So what we'll do is we'll kind of take a look one by one with these. And we'll start with the Dreadnought. So the Dreadnought has 2 Dreadnoughts, and these are capital ship-sized ships. So remember we talked about the flagship, and it had the 3 cap fighters, the kind of hit point fighters. Each of these are a capital ship-sized ship, so they come with extra ships for the cap ships too. So we'll open these up. These are side-opening kind of boxes. But again, they have beautiful, cool artwork on there. Cannot get enough of sci-fi artwork. There's a little insert in there. Okay. Really, this is what you get. So you get a small punch board, 2 red alerts, Commonwealth, not Confederation, that's what it is, unit markers, and the backside. So it shows, wow, each of these are 12 victory points. Yikes. Let's take a quick look at those. They ignore red alert, ignore blast. Wow, okay. Oh. Dang. These guys are absolutely brutal. If you can take these down, you're going to be in a good spot for winning a game. Some of the scenarios, this is half your victory points. These ships are massive. And again, I like that they're different. I always appreciate that when they do that. You got peg holes. Just a really cool, I don't know. I love sci-fi. And we have here a little baggie. These are the same ships that were in the base game, little fighters. But instead of being a fighter squadron, these are cap fighters because they're always going to be in the same hex as these capital ships. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, which I'll get into, is these little ranges here. You have the white numbers are for ranged combat and the yellow number is for close quarters or adjacent combat. If you look at the flagship, his close quarters combat, not very good. Everyone else is kind of a 3. His is only a 2, but he adds 1 for each cap fighter. So if he's got his 3 fighters with him, this is a 5 for close combat. And that's one thing that I think is just really dynamic and cool about this. So you got your big bad dreadnought, and he's got 3 close combat fighters to him. So he's going to be rolling 6 dice in close quarters. I mean, you just, good luck taking one of these down. You're going to be flying your dreadnoughts at each other more than anything else, I think. And then you get the sheet here, which has 2 scenarios in it, specifically with the dreadnoughts. But again, you can build dreadnoughts into your armies if you have enough points. A dreadnought costs you 40 points. So you get a couple scenarios with these already in it, but you can then just buy points into your other games and use these, and you get the bases and pegs that you would expect from those. So more game, always down for more of a good thing. So that was Dreadnought expansion. Then we have, let's see, we'll wait, this will be this one last. The Carrier Starship expansion. And these are all very similar from the content standpoint. You basically just get a single unit type. They're all, I think they're all capital ship in size. If we look here, Vice Admiral Flagship, which is this one, Carrier, and Dreadnought, they're all capital ship size. So these are all big bads. So these are your carriers. These kind of look a bit more bulky, like they carry in squadrons of starships, little fighters. And again, because they're capital ships, they also have cap fighters. And we also have standees for each of those as well. And then same punch board, red alert, markers, unit markers. And then this number on the back is the victory points. So if you're able to kill the cap fighters and then destroy the carrier, then you claim this. This is your victory flag, so to speak. 6 victory points. I put that on my little play aid. Kind of a holding area, so that's how that works. For the carriers, special rules about them, what they could do. And then again, another scenario dedicated with the carriers built into them. But again, it has the purchase value here of 21, so you can buy those into any of your armies. So you say, I've got my task force here, I got 99 points plus 21 points, I can buy my carriers, boom, done. So that's the carrier expansion. And the nice thing is, thinking about it, these little unit markers really help you to differentiate. They're different sized, but it might be a lot of green and red on the board. So having these little markers is very important to keep those on the board as to who's what, so you don't mix up, oh, this is a Dreadnought and this is a Vice Admiral's flagship, which we'll take a look at right now. You don't want to mess those up and use the wrong kind of statistics for each one. This is just okay, nothing else in there. So the Vice Admiral, here's his little unit markers. Markers. These are worth 8 points apiece, which I believe is the same as your normal flagship. This is kind of your Vice Admiral. Again, your little scenario booklet's got 2 scenarios in it with the dedicated rules for what he can and can't do. And we'll crack him open. He's a capital ship, so he also has his little cap fighters, 3 apiece. Again, these are the same as the ones in the base game. We have these cool little ships here. Let's see if I can't compare these real quick with... Okay. These are identical. So this is your Vice Admiral, this is your flagship. So those are identical. So it's basically just having a second flagship basically. But he's the Vice Admiral, so he's not quite as good. He's 2331 is the flagship. Your Vice Admiral's 2331. Must move with command vessel. 2-1. Second command vessel. I think he's pretty much exactly the same. I'll be honest. That looks exactly the same. 26, 31. He's more expensive. When eliminated, lose a card at random. Actions a command vessel. Interesting. I guess he's more... Command vessel. Yeah, he's more expensive. Probably just because of the extra flexibility that gives you. But you can basically double down on your Vice Admiral and your flagship. They're the same, but it costs more money to have both of them in there than it does to have just one. So that's pretty interesting that they've chosen to do that. There's some good tactical flexibility and kind of unit building stuff there. The very last expansion is the Logistics and Space Platform Escalation Pack. This one's slightly different from the other ones. The other ones were, here's a new ship each, and their little support fighters. This we get a whole bunch of stuff. So we have transport markers, we have a space platform, sorry, there we go. Transport markers, space platform, and transport markers, and space platform. These are worth not as much victory points, as many victory points. So we'll take a little look. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 scenarios in this one. It gives you the rules for transports and the rules for these big old space stations. That's so cool. Alright, so let's take a look at these. These are grey in colour because they're neutral. Neutral in the sense that both players can kind of buy these and the scenarios dictate what they are. These are actually really chunky. These are very, very chunky. These are big fat grey ships. Yep, a lot of that's going to be happening here. Just really cool. Rocket engines on the side and on the back. So those are very neat. I'm liking those. And you get 8 of those. And then you get the all-important space station. Ooh, space station is in pieces. How does he go together? Well, I don't want to mess that up. Oh, I was doing it right. I think he... Well, I'm not exactly sure, but something akin to this. Maybe? Nope, the other way around. There it is. Okay, those fit in. I don't know if you can see that, but this is a little curved crevice where those sat together. This bad boy sits in the bottom. So this is your little star space platform, little space station. And that has its own little base standee as well. This big old circle. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Boom. Look at that. That's awesome. Just stands up there. It'll be interesting to see. There you go. That's much more secure. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to put them together. Or we might just fiddle around with them, but this is, if I hold it upside down, I know it's going to fall. Oops, I dropped it. There it is. These are pretty secure, at least for gameplay-wise. If I dump it upside down, do the DQ Blizzard challenge, TM, please sponsor me, Blizzard. That's not falling over, which I appreciate that. That's a really important part of this. If you're making standees, they got to fit. Battle of Britain from PSC, we played that. That's an older game of theirs from a few years back. Some of the standees didn't fit on me, I had to glue those, but this seems to be, that's pretty secure and tight. But it's easy to take apart once you're done with it if you don't want to store them all like that, so that's pretty good. I appreciate that. That's more care has gone into making those. That's always very important for me, because I like to use the standees, but I want to be able to not break my stuff. So that is that. That's the last expansion. And this space platform, he has about, I think that's on here, the space platform, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. Maybe he can shoot halfway across the board, which is awesome. So taking him out is going to be tough, especially if he's surrounded by a fleet. But that's the last expansion. So there's a ton of stuff available for this game. And this is one of the games that I've been most excited for since it came out. In end effect, the gameplay is very similar to Commands and Colors, so nothing to be too scared of. It does have some extra little bits and pieces about unit composition, semi-army building, based off of those task forces, and then the extra bits and pieces to remember that you got that extra star token currency, which you can activate some special card abilities, so there's choices there to be made. When's a good time to collect stars? When's a good time to draw a card instead? How many do I need? When do I trigger all that? So there's a little bit more, a little bit extra that goes into that on top of some of the other games in this line. But you can't beat a sci-fi game with good miniatures, and this one's going to be quick to play, and it looks beautiful on the board. So we're going to play this one very, very soon and play with as many of the expansions as we can. So you look for a review coming. This one is very soon. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know this was a long one, but we unpacked everything that was in the Kickstarter, I think. So I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com. This is Red Alert Space Fleet Warfare by Richard Borg from PSC Games. Thank you very much for tuning in.